get everything.
Welcome to our class on cell phones and social media. And I'm going to share our screen here. All right, that should kick up there. Hopefully everybody can see everything. And all right, good, it's working. Cell phones and social media. If you were born after 1998, you are called a digital native because you were born into the digital generation. If you were born before 1998, or if you're much older than that, then you would be called a digital immigrant, which means that you had to migrate. I mean, these are terms. I'm not making that up, but it's interesting when we talk about kind of the habits of cell phones today. These are 2022 stats, and that at the average American checks their phones 344 times per day. That's once every 4 minutes, and so and so that could usually be me, except for this 2-3 hour period of time today where Daisy was contacting me to pick up Callie. I didn't look at my phone. But these are some of the interesting usages and habits. Americans can spend almost 3 hours a day on their phones, and maybe with some of our kids, it's a lot longer than that. Some of the addictive habits is that we have can range from going to 80% check their phone within 10 minutes of waking up. 83% feel uneasy if they left their phone at home. It's kind of, I feel like walking out without pants. 70% use the phone in the toilet. I mean, it's just these are just some of the statistics that on addictive phone habits that you can pick up later when I send out the notes. But also, the average time, on social media, gaming, and then compared to 36 minutes phone calls and texting. Those are the habits of Americans on cell phone, and it is quite a bit different for teens and kids. And so, as we talk about the area of the cell phone, when did we start introducing it? For poor Bree, I mean, she didn't get her smartphone until she was in her senior year of college, but then her younger sisters got them a lot earlier than she did, which is always kind of stinks when you're the oldest child. But she handled it fine. She was never bitter, but that I know of. And that but it's interesting, when do American parents allow their children to own a cell phone? Actually, 1% of US parents allow their kids to have it by age 2. Right now, I don't know, maybe if it's an old phone and it's got
Pastor Steve,
yeah.
yeah, your slides aren't advancing.
Oh, they aren't. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for letting me know.
Uh-huh.
All right, how's that? Is that better?
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, there's this thing that I always have to remember that says use slideshow. I'll drop these. I'll drop these later so you guys can have some of these graphics. But 1% of US parents allow children to have their own phone by 2, 4% by 4, 10% of parents gave their first phone when they were 6 years or younger, 40% by 10, 23%, 11 to 12, 65% of preteens had their phone by 13. So I don't know where you rank in those statistics. but it's interesting, the thought in doing that. Why do they give a cell phone at a certain age? 40%, just so the parents can have some peace and quiet. 83% stay in touch with their kids, and so we basically want to be able to call them. We want them to be able to call us, and we want to use the GPS to know where they are. Right. And so that's a handy thing. Daisy just got off my Find My phone, so I have no idea where my wife is. So, but 53% believe cell phones are educationally advantageous, and I think that's when we had to get Callie a phone. I think we were trying to hold it off, but then the teachers were doing stuff with the phones in class. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. Now her high school, they have this thing called a Yonder, and they're only school in the district that does it, and they have to put it in this locked case that the kids hold, and then at the end of their last period, 6th or 7th period, it magnetically unlocks, and then they can take their phone out, and it's been great. Yeah, it's been a good thing for them. But and 50% to communicate with their friends. Right? And that's that's an important thing, right? For them, when communication with their friends becomes that much bigger and important. But here's what I wanted to get into is characteristics of a screenager. There's teenagers, there's screenagers, and I read this somewhere. I forgot who said that, but I thought it was a good line. But their tendency is that they're tech savvy. I like to joke with parents and to say, there's 2 great reasons to have kids. Number 1, they're a blessing. Number 2, they're your tech support. Because these kids know how to navigate a tablet, before you do, and they're 3, right? And so they know how to use an iPad better than we do. And there's a little booklet put out by Axis called A Parent's Guide to Smartphones. It says modern teenagers have grown up in a world not in which they had to adapt to technology, but in which it was assumed. So, technology is now assumed to be had. And so they are going to be tech savvy. They're always online, right? In general, there's a lot of kids that are just always online. They're just always connected somehow. And because of that, they have shorter attention spans. They're not sitting down reading Moby Dick, when you can find a Google summary somewhere on your cell phone and just go through it a lot more quickly. But I think the social media today, where they just keep swiping right, or flipping up, contributes to a shorter attention span. They will tend to find in-person religious, I guess practice isn't really the word I wanted, but when it comes to going to youth group or going to church, even somewhat of an inconvenience for them, right? And especially coming out of COVID, and they got used to doing church online and youth group online. Coming out is somewhat traumatic. I don't know. Have you found that with the youth group kids? She's all Bree here sponsors our high school group, and was it difficult for some of the kids to come back?
A handful, yeah. A handful preferred being online. Keep their screen off, do other things, play games while they were in youth group.
Yeah. Online CTF. A lot of the kids had their screens off. So did our career group, and a lot of them were playing video games while they had it on in the background. And so this is a little bit more inconvenient to be in person and actually talk to a person face to face. That's not as easy. Also, let's see. They may seek their identity through social media. They're concerned about the number of likes on their posts. and followers. Trevin Wax wrote in this book called This Is Our Time. A like is more than affirmation. A comment is more than a compliment. They are signals of social significance. Right? And so, the likes and the comments, they mean so much. What's more, the absence of a like or a comment can send a signal too. If a girl's closest friend doesn't comment, she may wonder if something is wrong. And so there's this, the real danger in social media, it can be a great ministry, right? Social media presence is the most popular way for churches to expand and minister today. If we don't take advantage of social media, we're going to be in the dark, every church, right? So there's a sense where, there's that trend where we need to be social media savvy. We need to have websites, because before people would come through personal invitations. Now people come because of the website. Right? People don't look in the phone book for ads anymore, right? We used to, we're looking for a church, and we would go to the phone book in the yellow pages, and nobody knows what a yellow page is anymore if you're born after 1998. And so here it becomes a danger, though, when their identity is shaped through social media. They find it as being popular, and they're monitoring, this singer or this actress, has so many followers, and they know how many followers that a person has. Also, characteristic of a screenager, they get partial knowledge, because kids are getting their religious input and their political input from memes. You know what a meme is? So one of those pictures with a little comment there, and it's really popular just to repost those in your story, and it can be very powerful, the images that they have. But then it just has little slogans on the bottom, and this is shaping their worldview. Are these memes, and they don't know the whole story, right? They only know what somebody popular has posted, and so they get partial knowledge. It's also time wasters. It's so easy just to kind of follow. Even for me, the other night, I had a free night. I wasn't preaching the next day, and so that Saturday night, all the kids were gone, and I was just watching music videos. I was watching Michael Bublé and all that kind of, and next, I was trying to play along on the piano too, so it was a little bit productive, but it was. But we can spend so much time just kind of watching mindless videos that we can waste a lot of time. Video games, we'll talk about that next meeting. Just senseless banter exchange. Just kind of silly. Hey, and then nothing's really said. And then also their phone is their Bible. And so they don't engage with a paper Bible anymore, or a book, and so and it is pretty convenient not having to carry around your speech and study Bible, and to be able to flip it there. For me, I have trouble reading, but what's nice is you can always make it bigger on the screen, and so that's kind of the world that a screenager is in. Tech savvy, always online, short attention span, church is inconvenient, identity is found through social media, partial knowledge, wasting time, and it's just even to reach them spiritually, we say, all right, let's take out our phones and turn to Genesis 1:1. And so So I don't know, any comments on some of these characters, anything to add? What would you add?
social anxiety.
Oh, yeah,
It's not easy to have that connection with them, it's easier to type and text.
yeah,
Than things that they can actually say, in person. So I've noticed like, not just my kids, but, friends of their kids. Have a lot of social anxiety, they don't want to go to see their friends, meet with them, like, go outside and go out.
yeah,
No, just being out, so
yeah,
stressful.
yeah.
This is after COVID.
Mhm, yeah.
So, but they're in their room with their phone for hours and hours.
Mhm,
Often, it's like they pacify everything.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh,
But we were mentioning about the texting back and forth. One day I try to look and read their text just to see what they're talking about. Nothing. It's like one, I'm like, I didn't understand the language at all.
IDK.
Just back and forth, one or two words back and forth. It was just the conversation. It's like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times it's, oh, are they paying attention to me?
Yeah.
Are they gonna respond at my beck and call? And so, which can be annoying to some people.
I don't feel that like for kids now, like in-person communication skills
Mhm,
are lacking.
yeah,
Like over the summer, I had hired a high school grad, and then she was gonna be my receptionist, but so we do texting and we do answering phones. She really did not want to answer the phone. She just was okay with texting the patients, communicating. I was like, well, you gotta answer the phone. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that, yeah.
Mhm.
Shirley?
Oh, I was just gonna say there's also associated, like, deconditioning of the body. There's there's kind of the increased risk of obesity. As you text and you watch and you eat, but you're not exercising, you're not outdoors, you spend a lot of sedentary time. Yeah.
No.
So, there's physical health negative effects as well.
Yeah. Oh, great, thank you for those. I just wanted to leave us some verses that can help us, because as we deal with this, even though there weren't cell phones in the Bible, neither were there toilets in the Bible, obviously, but there are principles that can help guide us. And when it becomes an addiction, we have to address it as an addiction. I think it's important to not mince words, and to give definition, I think can be helpful. Here's what the word addiction means. Does this describe you? In counseling an abusive person one time, I had to take the definition of what emotional abuse is and what verbal abuse is, and then ask the question, does that describe your behavior? Because definitions are important. Then I bring the verses, because sometimes if I just mention words and then the verses, they just kind of go over our head. So I think it's important a lot of times to define and then to see what the scriptures have to say. I like 1 Corinthians 6:12. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not helpful. Right? There's nothing illegal with a cell phone or a computer, but they may not always be helpful. All things are lawful for me, but the Apostle Paul says, I will not be brought under the power of any. And so this is a question we can ask. Are you brought under the power of are you under the power of your cell phone? And then they said, no, but I need to charge it really badly. Where's the charger? And so, I think to have discussions with their kids, what does it mean to the Lord if something controls us? That's not him. That's really kind of a form of idolatry. And we need to be careful. The phone can be a tool, but we should not be brought under the power of any. Where's my charger? A second thing is how addiction ensnares. Paul, no, well, not Paul. We don't know who wrote Hebrews, but whoever wrote Hebrews, could be Paul, said, therefore we also, since we are also surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Right? It is our time with the cell phone. It could be a handy tool, but is it ensnaring us? With sin. So he talks about laying aside every weight. Maybe it's a weight. Weight are, it's kind of like that the word gymnasium actually comes from the word naked, because that's kind of how the athletes ran. They would take off the clothing because it weighed them down. And that's what he talks about here, is that when he's running the race, he's lay aside every weight. Clothes are not necessarily wrong, they just weigh us down. And cell phones are not necessarily wrong, they can just weigh us down. And then sin itself can easily ensnare us. So there's the harmless stuff that can weigh us down, and then there's sin which can trap us. All right, so there's the weigh down and trap us. And so those might be two categories we need to have discussions in. Maybe it's not a sinful implement, until it comes into the area of pornography, which Pastor Kevin discussed. We'll talk a little bit about tonight. But it's just the weight, because of how much time they're spending on it, how much time they're wasting on it, how much they're finding their identity in it. And so Hebrews 12:1 is a great verse that we can use in our discussion with our kids. And then verses that talks about guarding the eyes. Job 31:1 is a great verse. I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon a young woman? Right? A lot of guys will have this verse posted on their computer screen. Right? So it's just remind them to not look at inappropriate things. Proverbs 6, do not lust after beauty in your heart. Do not let her allure you with her eyelids. For by means of a harlot, a man is reduced to a crust of bread, and an adulteress will prey upon his precious life. Can a man take fire to his bosom and his clothes not be burned? And so, these are some talks, to have with our young men. Can you play with fire and not be burned? And we can get dangerously close and think, well, I'm not, actually looking at anything rated X, but we can get close to it. And can we take fire into our bosom and his clothes not be burned? And so, this is kind of the danger of playing with fire. And so, so some other things that we need to talk about with our kids is just guarding the eyes as well. And the positive thing that we could say, because we don't want to just focus on all the negative and just always sounding condemning, but we want them to pursue that which have these 8 qualities: whatsoever is true, noble, just, pure, lovely, good report. If it's virtuous or praiseworthy, meditate on these things. And so there are things that you can pursue. There are some beautiful things that you can see, like places around the world, or there's a lot of ministries online that could be a blessing to you. So to encourage them to use the tools to think on these things. So I just wanted to give you these scriptures. Any other scriptures that you may have found helpful in this particular discussion as well? All right, I'm going to close off with just some suggestions here. Some suggestions when it comes to the area of social media and cell phones. First, delay as long as you can. As long as you can, and have discussions and you know, but the longer you can hold off, the better, you know, and, you know, and I'll talk about areas of staging coming up soon. But, you know, cell phones might come first, you know, and just use this as communication. But social media, that's things where you really want to guard, you know, because, you know, cyberbullying can happen through that. You know, once the kid starts building their self-image around social media, that becomes dangerous. But, you know, also, if their friends have it and they don't, they're gonna just be harping on you. So, you know, delay it as long as you can. Secondly, control. Phones are a privilege, not a right. And I think it's important to communicate that. And you know, we'll give it to you until you're ready. Or, you know, if you're working and you live on your own, you can buy your own. You know, but until then, do you know how much they cost? You know, and so help them understand it's a privilege, not a right. Parents must monitor what they do on the phone. And so you don't want me to look at your history, you look at a phone. Right? I mean, part of it is you know, I'm gonna check once in a while what you're doing. And you know, as long as we're parents, as long as we're their parents that are growing up in our house and we're paying the cell phone bill, or even if you're not paying the cell phone bill, you know, and they're rich and they have some, you know, they got in on grandma's deal or something, you're still the parent. And so that monitor what they do on the phone. Also, parents must reserve the right to take away the phone for disciplinary issue or emotional health. You know, I mean, this isn't healthy. You need a break from your phone, and we're going to give you just a little break, you know, except when you go to school and then when you get home, you know, that way, if you need a ride or something, that we can do that. But, you know, during homework hours, you're not going to be on your phone. Right. And if you finish your homework, you can have some phone time, but also you're not going to bed with your phone. Right. So it's going in the basket, you know, in the living room at bedtime. And, you know, and then after school, after your homework, you can go back on it again. So you reserve the right to have that kind of control. Take it away if you need to. You can also control the Wi-Fi access in your home. Some homes will have Wi-Fi off as their default. Turn it on as needed. You know, oh, you can do homework, you know, and you do research and you need to be on. Okay, then we'll turn it on, but at 11 o'clock at night, you know, unless you're, you know, if you're done with your paper, Wi-Fi is off. You can control that and with your own passwords and you know, and I'm sure Comcast makes it pretty easy to do. Fourth, parents. Fifth, no screens or phones in bedroom during sleep time. And so they're not staying up all night with their phones. Just leave it outside. And then you know, no screens at dinner. I mean, everybody's different. This is just a suggestion, right? And you know, but saying, hey, for you know, now everybody's older. Everybody's always checking phones, even me. But you know, maybe 15 minutes. You know, just of no phone time. You know, where we can just chat for a while, and you know, and then you know, and then after everybody's off into their corner. But as parents, you have control over this, and don't be afraid to let them know that as a parent, that's one of the most effective disciplines now. Now it's not, okay, you're gonna get a spanking. Now it's, I'm gonna take away your phone. No, don't do that. That's the worst thing in the world. You know, so it's, you know, it's, use it. Okay, then protect. Install filters on computers. Don't, if possible, keep the family computer that they use for homework in the you know, in a public area where the screen's visible, right? So that they don't, you know, it's not too easy to just sneak off and look at dirty pictures. But there's filters that will protect against these things that will come up on it. There's web protection as well. I use what's called Covenant Eyes. And so on my computer and iPad and phone, it is, it monitors everything that I look at, and it goes to Pastor Kevin. And if there's something inappropriate, he'll call me out on it. And and it's those kind of things that's important to have. And so it's good to, it's good, I think for all guys to have something like this, just because it's, as they say, every man's battle. And so have filters that can block, and it will limit the access of what you're able to see. And even when you're doing research, it'll say, you can't go on that page, and okay, I have to find it somewhere else. Or Covenant Eyes will record all the sites that you go to. We'll send you regular emails and say, all right, we think you're in a safe zone here, or it'll send to you and your accountability partners. You can have more than one, and things that are suspicious, and things that might need review, or discussion, and that helps to shut the gate, knowing that these devices are covered. So you can check out covenanteyes.com. There's some good material there, but protect, and it's not just for guys too. Gals can be really tempted into the area of pornography as well. Building these discussions with people around the country who you don't know, if it's some creepy old man in Texas, or you just don't know who they're talking to. And so that's why it's really important to have filters and protection. Another thing to do, ramp up. It's the principle. I was having breakfast with the guy today, and actually our topic was finances, but we went over that passage that was in Luke that says, be faithful in little, God will make you faithful in much. But the idea is it's progressive. If you're safe here, then God, or you're trustworthy here, God's going to give you a little more. You're trustworthy here, He's going to increase your responsibility. It's kind of like that idea when we kept our babies in a crib, then we expanded a little bit to a playpen, then we expanded with a playpen with one door down, but the door closed. Then we expanded it to an open door where they can go out of the room and go down the hallway, but we put a gate up on the stairs, then they get a little more responsible. Then they could go down the stairs, but not out of the house. They get a little more responsible. They can play outside just on the front yard. They get a little more responsible. They can go around the block on a bike, and then they're more responsible. They can cross the street, right? So it's just at each stage of proving themselves responsible. We do this online too. Like maybe with you're starting out with children. Now they'll have little tablets with games, educational videos. As they get older, when I was reading this suggestion, they had ages assigned to it, but it's just, you have to know your kid. As the kid gets older, they might start using the family computer for homework and research. As an early teen, maybe they get a limited Facebook. They don't use Facebook anymore. Bree can help us out with what they use now, but you limit it to, just, friends, well, how about grandma, grandpa? That's not cool. A lot of kids, you can't friend me. And they go, well, if we're going to do this, mom and dad's going to be your friend. So, so it's, you don't set the rules here. You follow ours, but, having messenger apps and things that you're still able to monitor. And then when they're older teen, then a cell phone when you feel that they're responsible enough. So here, you're kind of ramping up, and just seeing how trustworthy they are. And, you're you're following the controls. There's a fellow by the name of Josh Ship, P.com, and he put out this phone contract. And I thought this is a great idea, is when you give your kid the first cell phone, or before you do, and you talk them through this point of this contract. And so you can go to this website, and it's a beautiful 5-page color thing that that you can print out, and it'll take a lot of ink on your printer. So maybe just do this part. But so the child would initial there. Please know my parents love me more than anything in the world. I understand that my parents want to give me freedom while also giving me enough security to make smart choices. Initial here. I promise that my parents will always know my phone passwords. I understand that my parents have a right to look at my phone whenever there's a need for them to do so, even without my permission. That's an important one. I will hand the phone to one of my parents promptly at blank PM every school night and every weekend night at PM, and I will get it back at AM, initial here. I will not send or receive naked photos, also called sexting, ever. I understand that there could be serious legal consequences that could put mine and my parents' future at risk. I will never search for porn or anything else that I wouldn't want my grandma. Oh man, this document couldn't even spell grandma correctly. But anything that I want my grandma finding. I understand that my behavior, you can make your own, right? So you don't have to use it. This is just a suggestion. I understand that my behavior on my phone can impact my future reputation, even in ways that I am not able to predict to see. I promise I will tell my parents when I receive suspicious or alarming phone calls or text messages from people I don't know, including scammers. And I will also tell my parents if I am being harassed by someone via my cell phone. I got this, I was getting this message and it kept saying, hello, hello, hello. And I go, who's this? Right? Because, maybe they're trying to contact their pastor, but I didn't recognize the phone number. And, and then the person said the name, I forgot what the name was. And I go, well, how do I know you? And then they said, well, we met at tea. I don't go to tea. I drink tea, but I don't go to tea. So I said, no, this sounds fishy. So I proceeded to explain the gospel, cite John, and I wrote down John 3:16, and then I said goodbye. Right, but it's if they're going to fish, I'm going to fish without the pH. And then, but when your kids are getting it, they should let you know. I will also tell my parents if I'm being harassed. When I'm old enough, I won't text and drive. I understand it's very dangerous and stupid. I will make an effort to learn phone and internet etiquette, and I understand this is an extension of normal manners. I will turn off silence and put away my phone in public, especially in a restaurant, at the movies, while speaking to another human being. I am not a rude person. I will never use my phone, social media to bully or tease anyone, even if my friends think it's funny. And I will not lie where I have been and how I'm using my phone. I promise to answer questions honestly and directly. So, you would want something like that in a contract before you give them the phone, right? And maybe put on the refrigerator. And then disciple digitally. You can't beat them, join them in that sense. Build good spiritual habits with the phone. Right? It can be a wonderful tool as well. You can send your kid a verse, a sentence prayer. Just something where you're bringing encouragement. And you can say, hey, on your phone, let's set up some online devotion. So you can just kind of go here and, or there's a Bible app that you can go to and just kind of share some of these things over the phone. And so you can be involved in our kids' lives digitally this way. Build real experiences, go on drives and outings without phones. Now, of course, maybe they want to use phones to take pictures and capture the memory and say, all right, take some pictures. But as cameras only, all right, no texting and no call. Let's just silence it so we could just so we can chat or walk or just enjoy God's beauty. Right. And so if we can just get them to lift their eyes up just for a while and see these things. It's kind of like that. You know, I remember driving and we're driving through these beautiful, beautiful valleys in Utah or something like that, or we're nearing Yosemite. Guys, get off your phone and look out the window. I mean, this is, you got to see this, and you guys are missing it. And so that's important to do. And then inspire building personal connections, in-person connections. Because like we were talking about, the socialization is missing and gone. And so those are just some suggestions to help us through this digital era. I wanted to ask Bree, maybe if you want to kind of come up here and okay, you can stay there. But just so the folks on Earth could see you. What are some of the social medias that's popular today among kids, because Facebook's not popular. Yeah.
I'd say probably top 3 for the teenage age group would be Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. So just in brief, Instagram's kind of a gallery of photos that people display. TikTok is a maybe I would say a web base of short videos that usually kind of caters to what you are interested in. And so people, dancing videos, or it could be so many things that web-based videos. And then Snapchat is exchanging picture messages that disappear after a certain amount of time. So I would say those are probably the top 3 that kids are using. Any that you would add?
Spotify, but that's a music site. I spent all this time building up our iTunes music library, and my kids don't even use it. Because they're on Spotify, because last Thursday night, I don't know if this is true at your house, but last Thursday night at 9:00, it was the big countdown for Taylor Swift's release of her new album. So, I know, like, well, one of my daughters was just, excited just to hear it right at 9:00, which is 12 midnight, Eastern time. And then my other daughter was there just to kind of humor her and listen. And when I got home, I kind of joined in, kind of listened a little, just, so I can try to be a part of it. But, that's another thing too, but we're going to talk about music next session. One thing my daughter said was, Callie, and I don't think she minds me saying this, that she said, when I got off TikTok,
My mental health improved.
yeah, my mental health really improved. So, so I'm glad that she had the self-discipline to counsel that herself. And, I think if she would want me to share something that she said, I think she said it was okay for me to share that. But we was there when she said that. So, because we were talking about this class, and so it's that comes straight from one of our kids.
About YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube. Yeah, and I was more listening to social media, but like where they're actually interacting back and forth with people. But YouTube's a huge one in terms of like video rabbit hole.
Yeah, they don't watch TV anymore, or they don't want, they don't like surf channels or anything like that, because it's YouTube and it's.
And they're all on Discord.
Yeah, what is that?
That one I'm not as familiar with, but it's gaming.
So Discord is, because I had to get one.
I thought it's like chat.
Chat.
It is, it's chatting. So when they play video games, they go on this thing called Discord, and then they're able to communicate, oh, there's a bad guy over there, or I'm open, down here, if they're playing football or something. So they can talk to each other on it. And so I actually had to join, because when I was sponsoring a Quest and I was working with our college guys, during COVID, we did our small group on Discord. And so, it can be used positively. It's just basically a site where you can chat, I guess, simultaneously while you're playing video games, which is the original intent. I don't know, any questions that you might have or thoughts?
And what do people send each other on Snapchat? It's like, that's what I have for breakfast. I've never used it. Curious how they use it.
Yeah. Snapchat's come to me, not even, like Instagram, you're kind of showcasing like more like, oh, here's a trip that I went on.
Yeah.
Here is my holiday costume. Snapchat's a lot more of just very mundane. I don't know, like doing homework, or even sometimes it's become a thing of they have these streaks that go back and forth. So the more you send back and forth with somebody, your count goes higher. And so the more streaks you have with somebody, like a friend, the better friend you are. And so, Snapchat can be a pretty dangerous one, because kids, they don't want to lose the streak. And so they'll I've had people, like kids will go on vacation and be like, hey, can you keep up my streak for me? I don't want to lose my best friend or whatever it might be. So that's how kids, I think, are using it these days. Streaks with people, and we're not really talking about much.
That's the one that disappears.
Yeah. After 24 hours, you think.
See, when I first heard about Snapchat, then I don't get why people use it either, but then, I always connected it with people sending inappropriate pictures and then they would disappear. But, but inappropriate people are gonna use it inappropriately, and appropriate people will use it appropriately. That's what we have to monitor.
And TikTok is just sharing videos with your friends mainly, is that?
Yeah, video streaming.
But not just with your friends, though. If you can make it public and you can go viral, and have several thousand or several million, that could be. It boosts your ego. Oh, I guess some people can make money through some of these things, like top YouTubers can make a lot of money.
Wasn't there a time where if you signed on to TikTok, some of your security, you could get security breach or something like this? Was like maybe a year ago or something, where they were saying that people who signed on TikTok, that like, I guess now it's owned by an American company, because it used to be owned
By
by
China.
China. And they're saying it was safe.
Yeah. Same thing with Zoom. Hi, China.
Oh. Yeah.
But that's another thing too, and that's actually another class we should have at some point, is internet security. Because there's a lot of bad people doing a lot of bad things out there, and kids are at risk, of meeting strangers online through social media and giving too much information. That's why, don't put out birthdays, of your kids. you know, or just too, you know, just not too much information, or put the settings on private. Right, so people can't friend your kid unless they're approved. So it's,
Turning off locations, if you're not using the app, not taking pictures of your neighborhood, or your car license plates, things like that. You know.
yeah, so that's a whole nother topic there.
To go back to the TikTok question, the two major trends that I've heard since TikTok has gotten big is that they do use TikTok to advertise a lot of products. So there are huge followings of new products on TikTok, or introduction of new products. And then the other one is there was a big following of individuals going on TikTok to talk about their own mental health diagnoses and creating trends in which teenagers would then self-diagnose themselves because they saw all these other people talk about symptoms. The thing with mental health that's difficult is sometimes mental health symptoms are very non-specific. So it's like an analogy is you could say, I got online, I said I had a fever, therefore I had pneumonia. That doesn't follow because a lot of different infections, a lot of different kinds of infections can cause a fever. So it causes some potential danger as all these kids watch these videos and then become completely convinced that they have some sort of this specific mental health diagnosis without professional assessment.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, too, I think TikTok, they would do some of these really dumb trends of like walking on water bottles or I don't know,
That's right.
right? And then people would try to imitate it, and it's just kind of like the dumbest stuff. People get hurt.
All these kids would follow and then,
Yeah.
dangerous situations.
But it could be productive. Some of the best recipes I got off Instagram. Because, all right, here, you know, like I just sent her one on how to make salmon. You know, just, oh, it's so fast. No, it's good, gotta try it. So, you know, but, yeah, good. Anything else?
One suggestion I can have, I can share with parents is that if kids do spend time on social media and you know, the tendency or the danger is that comparison that we talked about before, right? So, oh, other people are going on vacation. Oh, other people look so good. These people are spending time with these other friends. They're leaving me out, etc. There's a lot of FOMO on social media. There's also a huge trend of using filters online so that people brush up their pictures. So you create a picture of yourself and then you basically do all sorts of fancy photoshopping and you look gorgeous online. I mentioned this because it adds to the comparison piece, right? And there is a lot of associated depression and anxiety as a result of all this comparison to what you see on social media. And something parents can tell and their kids is that you have to remind the kids that what you're seeing is not their real life. You're seeing their highlight reel. Okay, this is the highlight reel to their life because people don't usually post their most difficult days or their most boring days, right? And you are sitting there in front of the computer or the phone with full knowledge of all like 360 degrees of your life. And you are comparing your 360-degree life to somebody's highlight reel. So of course you're gonna feel like it's not comparable, but it's an unfair comparison.
Oh, that's excellent. Really good.
And if you guys don't mind, the last thing I would share is that this is totally not founded in any literature or anything. This is like not known in the field or anything, but this is my personal feeling. There's there's so much talk these days about how depression and anxiety is, growing by leaps and bounds in our teenagers.
Yeah.
And the question is why, and certainly there are theories that social media is associated. I think back, because I didn't grow up with social media, but I think back when maybe the parent generation here, when we were young, we'd watch TV and we'd see movie stars. There was kind of like a general cultural agreement that child stars tended to run into a lot of problems. They seem to have very high drama, difficult, drug use related, problems in their lives. I think what's happening, again, this is my own personal opinion, this is not evidenced anywhere, but social media is giving our teenagers a somewhat similar experience of being a child star.
Yeah.
So a child star, before they find their identity, before they become grounded, are exposed to so much both comparison and public attention that they end up basing their self-worth, their identity, their value in what all these other people think of me, right? Because they're out on the pedestal, they are out on the cover of magazines, and everybody's opinion about them is laid bare to be seen. I think with social media, everybody has their little bit of fame, right? And it's clearly affecting our kids' adolescent development.
Yeah, I even read some literature too, where social media can make kids feel like they're the center of the world. And so yeah, your theory is supported. Yeah. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and close in prayer and oh, yes, please.
Sorry, I don't know where to get, but yeah, I think two things that I'm thinking coming into today, and I've never been a parent, so I can't really speak to raising a kid and just thinking about all the things. I end up working with the kids after all the problems have happened and they have a terrible relationship with their parents and there's big blowouts and all that stuff. But I think two things that I would say, I think for parents to join in with their kids, one, in if there are no phones at dinner or no phones at bedtime, that parents are joining in with kids on that, because kids will see what parents are doing and say, wait, you're trying to explain to me, phones are good for my mental health, yada, 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 but here you are on your phone. And I think there's just a sense of joining in on it together. Parents are joining their kids. Of course, there are adult things that need to be done, emails that you have to answer for work. And so one suggestion that I think is pretty cool is having like a basket, at this time, phones going to the kitchen, if you need to use your phone, use it at the basket, keep it connected to the charger, just leave the charger. And then that way it's kind of there's accountability and a togetherness and joining in on that effort. And then the second thing is kids are finding identity in social media, in things like that. And so taking it away completely, I don't need for punishment, that's something different, but telling them, oh, that's bad, or I don't like it when you're on your phone. It is sometimes can, in a way, say I don't like who you are, or
They would
what
perceive
you
it
do
that
all the
way.
time. They will perceive it that way, right? And so instead, right, get curious, right? Get curious about what are you doing on there? Oh, what do you like so much about that app? Or could you show me a funny video or something like that? Get in it with them. I think they'll see that you joining in with them is encouraging. Oh, I like this aspect of you. And then of course giving them guidance, in how to use it. But I think if you can know what social media is providing for your kid emotionally, it's providing social connection, or it's providing a sense of identity, or it's providing information on health or mental health, right? How can you as a parent help aid in those areas so that they don't have to become dependent on social media for those needs?
There's one positive thing, I think it's positive, that we use with our family. It's this thing called Game Vision. And it's these games that you send through the text on your phone. Is it just through iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just through iPhone but it's we'll play Moncala or backgammon with Karina out in Springfield, Illinois. And it's kind of a nice little way we kind of stay in touch, and then, you just do your turn whenever, but it's kind of a little fun thing that, you can take advantage of technology for good things too. So, that's something like we do with our family, and then we all kind of play with each other. And so I even play with Bree. All right, well, let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we know that the devil is slick and sly. He's roaring about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And we know some of the advanced tools now are cell phones and social media. They can be used for good, just like books and the printing press and the computer, but they can also be used for evil. And Father, I pray that you will help us as parents to stay on top of this, to know when to introduce it and how to introduce it, and even what kind of discussion to have when introducing these things to our kids, because it's going to be a part of their life, and to learn good habits early on, and for them to not find their self-image on social media, but in who they were created to be, and who they are in the Lord Jesus Christ. We pray that that will be, we can see our kids healthy in this particular area, spiritually healthy in these particular areas. So Father, thank you just for this time that we can chat about things that our kids will go through, are going through, and even just for everyone sharing tonight. We really appreciate that. In Jesus' name we pray. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
As
Oh, no.
you're,
That's like, that's